Morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for our presentation today. Is downsizing the right move? Before we begin, as we gather here today, it's vital we also remember the peoples who've gathered here for millennia. This is the Treaty 7 land of the Indigenous peoples of Southern Alberta, the Blackfoot Nations of Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, the Stoney Nakoda Nation of Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley, and the historic home of the Northwest Métis and Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. It is with the goal of reconciliation that we acknowledge the land on which we gather, and we thank the elders of these lands for their timeless contributions. And again, welcome and thank you for joining us for this morning's presentation, part of Kerby Centre's 2022 series of online health, wellness, information, and entertainment presentations. This includes your well-being in home and hearth. We've all heard how crazy the real estate market is right now. And as we come to a point in our lives where our family home have become too big for us, or it's time to reap, you feel it's time to reap the financial investment, perhaps downsize and travel. Many may be questioning, is downsizing the right move right now? We're most pleased to welcome Peter and Debra Molzan of REMAX Complete Realty. Debra and Peter are both certified seniors real estate specialists. They have many years of experience assisting older adults with their decisions to make a move, whether it's downsizing or moving to a more supportive environment. Debra is an associate broker and has been actively involved in the real estate industry since 1991. She has numerous credentials, including certified condominium specialist, expert negotiator, and accredited buyer's representative. Peter joined her 21 years ago, and together they form a team that is experienced in all areas of residential real estate in Calgary and surrounding areas. They are licensed through REMAX Complete Realty and are committed to assisting seniors and their families, guiding them through the process of selling the family home and helping them make the transition less stressful and a more pleasurable experience. They are both active volunteers at Kerby Centre, where they are kept up to date on the changing needs of Calgary seniors. Debra and Peter, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Tell us what is important for us to know when making a life-altering decision to make a move.
Thank you, Colleen, and welcome everybody for joining us today. I'm Debra Molzan.
And I'm Peter Molzan.
And over the years, we've assisted many families with downsizing, and we hope today that will help to answer any questions or concerns that you might have.
The last couple of years have been a fairly unique experience for all of us. COVID has certainly changed the way that we've led our lives, and real estate was certainly affected by that as well. We went through a period where absolutely no showings were allowed, and everybody was in lockdown. And then slowly that mindset changed. Showings were allowed, but with limitations. There were only 2 people allowed in the house at a time. No children were allowed. Everyone had to wear masks, and you were told to advise your clients that not to touch anything, don't open any cabinets or anything like that. A lot of realtors decided that they would start doing Zoom presentations on property so their clients wouldn't have to go through there, and they would just show everything virtually. So it was completely different. Things now are slowly getting back to normal. There aren't the restrictions on there any longer as to the number of people that can go through a house. However, it is still up to the seller. If a seller feels more comfortable in limiting the number of people that go through, or to say that children aren't allowed at that point in time, you certainly have that right. So while things are returning to normal, the seller is still in charge as to who's going through that property.
And over the years, you might have heard the phrase aging in place, and we like to say aging in the right place. Planning ahead is really hard to do. We cannot predict what the future holds. But if you look at your current home and situation, are you really aging in the right place? We've met many older adults who are confined to their home and not able to leave. So it's really important that you take a look at your environment now and just to ask yourself the question, are you aging in the right place? And some of the reasons you might feel it's time to make a move is wanting to make a change. Perhaps it's loss of a loved one or a health setback, or maybe you're finding that your home is just too large and too hard to maintain, or you're feeling lonely or a little bit isolated. And we all felt this, especially during the COVID pandemic. Or perhaps you're financially struggling, not feeling safe anymore, or needing more supportive services, or no longer driving. Perhaps you've recently lost your driver's license, or you'd like to move closer to family and friends. And this might mean even having to move out of the city, or you currently own and perhaps you want to just rent.
Or maybe you've had enough of the snow.
Whoop. We've got a little glitch here. There we go. Sorry about that. And we all face stressful situations in life, unfortunately, and one of them is moving. And what holds us back? It's fear of the unknown. We get used to the community and environment where we're living. We know our neighbors, and it's really hard to know what's out there. So it's really important that you do your research. It's like leaving your best friend. Our homes are filled with wonderful memories, but just remember, your memories will go with you. And it's really important that you make an informed decision and one that is right for you. Just remember, everyone's situation is unique.
One of the first steps in determining whether you want to make a move is actually finding out the value of your home. Your financial situation is certainly going to be affected by the equity that you have in your home and how much you can expect to get out of that. So it's really important to know what your home is worth and understanding the marketplace. Now, a lot of people, they look at their city assessment, which you would have recently received, and they look at the assessed value and think that that's the value of their home. And that's not necessarily the case. The city assessment is based on last year's number. They take a look at it as of July of the previous year. And that may or may not be a good indication of what's going on in the Calgary real estate market. Sometimes that number is lower, sometimes it's higher. Right now in Calgary, we're going through a situation where housing is in demand and the properties are selling extremely fast, quite often for a lot more than what people have been asking for it. And I just pulled up some stats this morning just to give you an indication of what's going on. And in Calgary, right now, there are 4,282 properties for sale. And that's about 1,000 less than last year. And earlier in the year, we were down to under 2,000 properties in all of Calgary. So that is extremely low, and that helped push up prices and got a lot of people a lot more money than they were asking for. Another thing that I looked at here that I thought was interesting, that as of March 1st, we've had 2,700 listings or sales rather in Calgary. And out of those 2,700, 1,700 of them sold for more than what the seller was asking. So it's really a very hot market. The sellers are certainly in control of what's going on right now. Buyers are scrambling to find properties. Quite often when you put a property on the marketplace, it will sell within a matter of days as opposed to months before. So if you are thinking of making a move at some point down the road and you're trying to get as much money out of your property as possible, it might be a good idea to take a look at what's happening right now, because there's nothing that indicates that this is going to carry on. We've been through this several times in the past, and Calgary is a boom and bust city, it seems. So we've been through these markets where the sellers have been in control and properties have sold for a lot more than what the sellers were asking. But then at some point in time, a reality starts to set in and things get back to normal. So if you're in a position where you can, take advantage of it now.
And it's really important that you know your financial situation. If you are thinking of selling, it's important that you check out what your current balance of your mortgage is, or your line of credit if it's registered on your title, and also find out if there's any payout costs. Sometimes people have surprises and don't realize that if they do decide to sell, they might be locked into a term and there's a very high payout penalty involved. And what we do is we review all the expenses with you, so there's no surprises. So once you know how much of equity you'll have if you decide to sell your home, it's important that you talk to your financial advisor so they can help to determine whether or not, well, what your price range should be for your future home. Or sometimes people are told that they should just sell their home and look at the rental market. And you have to decide, where would you like to move? There's so many housing options out there, but it's really important that you look within your budget. And everybody's situation is a little bit different. So this is the opportunity for you to start doing a little bit of research and start dreaming about what you'd like your future to look like. And perhaps you might even want to consider looking at the smaller communities that are around Calgary, such as Okotoks or Cochrane. There's all sorts of housing opportunities out there. And like I say, this is the time to explore. There's many housing options. So when you are going to start looking at homes, feel free to invite your family or friends to join in. And one of the options that are out there, you probably heard about adult-only retirement communities. There are apartment-style living, and these properties were designed for older adults, to enjoy during the retirement years. There's many throughout the city. There's the Aviemore. You've heard about the ones that are built by the developer Medican. Or even there's Westman Village now, where everything is all within a complex and there's so much to enjoy. And they're all different price ranges. You can start below $200,000 all the way up to $1 million or over. So it just all depends on your price range. And when you move a property throughout the city, of course, with the different communities, the price range changes. And also you might decide that you want a 2-bedroom or 2-bathroom or a studio suite. There's so many options out there. And with the apartment style, many of the buildings have amenities, and these amenities are unbelievable, with swimming pools. They have home theater. Some even have bowling alleys. There's libraries. They have a room where everybody can socialize. And if you were personally going to have an event, many of them will let you use the room for your own private purposes as well. And they also have pool tables and exercise rooms, and even workshops for those that maybe you have a garage now and you like to do a little bit of woodworking. While there might be a workshop right in the complex that you're looking at. And they do offer all sorts of different clubs as well. And when you move into the apartment style, these clubs are usually all run by the residents. So they're all volunteers. And they get together for cards, or they even have exercise classes or aquasize. So there's so much to do. And another option are townhouses or villas, as I'm sure you've heard. These complexes are located throughout the city, as well as actually throughout the province, where they are designed for adult living. They have, some of them have garages, whether they're single or double garages or a carport. Some have full basements, even walkout basements, or some might even just have a crawl space where they're just strictly one level. And there's also stacked townhouses now, where you've got 2 bungalows stacked on top of one another. And a few of these buildings, they do have actual amenity built separate amenity buildings where you can go and enjoy socializing. Some of them have exercise rooms, and often people will get together for coffee parties, or they're really good places just to socialize.
Actually, I was looking at that previous picture there with the gentleman working in the workshop, and it reminds me of the workshop that we have at the Kerby Centre, where I don't know that a lot of work actually gets done. The gentlemen just tend to go there and socialize. And I know of a client that we had that I think he might have been in his 80s and worked all his life in the trades. And then after socializing with these guys downstairs, he cut his finger on the table saw. So I think it's easy to lose track, and the guys tend to get a little bit careless down there. So.
And actually, there's starting to be more innovative housing options out there. You might have heard about garden homes or tiny homes or laneway homes. I remember back in the 1970s, Peter and I went to the Home and Garden Show, and they had a garden home. And while they've made a comeback now, but it's just really important that you look at your finances and the options, because for the cost of what it might be for a garden home, perhaps you could find an alternative like an apartment condo or maybe even a villa. And there's also retirement residences. If you are still wanting to be independent, but you need some supportive services, retirement residences are a really good option. They're all located, throughout the city, and they offer a lot of socializing. You can go and you can get your meals, and some of them have health care services right within the building, and they offer wellness programs. So somebody had once said to me, it's like living in a cruise ship, and it really is. It's an opportunity to remain independent, but still have support services. And I was recently talking to one of the gals from a retirement residence, and she said there's people in their 100 years, that are still living a vibrant life. And the retirement residences, they're typically month-to-month lease or rental or life lease program. And if you are considering a lease or a life lease, it's really important that you have a lawyer review the documents, because life leases are not regulated throughout in Alberta here. So it's really important that you understand exactly what you're getting yourself into. But a really excellent option. And there's a lot of work to be done when you are thinking of downsizing, but just remember, you're not doing it alone. We're with you every step of the way. And one of the things that you'll need to do is gather some important documents to get ready if you are thinking of selling your home. And one of them is title. Whenever we're working with a family and they're thinking of selling the home, the first thing we do is pull title, because this is a very important document, and it'll show us if there's any red flags that we maybe need to deal with now. Then it's always good to deal with these sooner than later. And it also tells us who the registered owners are. Sometimes we've dealt with situations where people have added their families or their children to title. So it's important to remember, even though it's your decision to make a move, if your children are registered on your title, they will need to be a part of the sale, because they'll be the ones that they'll also have to sign all the documents, because they're considered an owner of your property. And also, when we pull title, there have been red flags, such as there might be still a mortgage registered on title and you've paid it off 20 years ago. Or a writ. So we just, like I say, need to deal with these up front before you put your home on the market. And if it is a power of attorney situation, we're dealing with this situation now where a client is in the hospital and not able to go back home again. She's going to have to go into long-term care. So we're having to deal with the power of attorney. Well, we just need to see the documents, just proving that they have the signing authority on our client's behalf. And we also connect with a lawyer just so that we know everybody's on the same page.
Another document that's fairly important in the sale of a property is the real property report. And it was called the survey certificate in the past, but now the real property report has a lot more details on it. It shows the house actually sitting on the lot, and it'll also show any improvements to that property, such as the fence, a garage, or garden sheds that may have been added. They will also show the deck, window wells, and an air conditioning unit if you have one. So this is something that is required in the sale of the property. As a seller, if you're selling your home, you're saying that everything complies with the City of Calgary bylaws, and the only way that you would know that is through having a real property report. So it is fairly critical. And that little box that you see there at the top of that document, that's the stamp of compliance from the City of Calgary. So once you have a surveyor do the real property report, it goes to the City of Calgary, and they take a look at it and say, yes, everything complies, and they put that stamp on there. Or they may say that, no, there's something that is an infringement on Calgary or city property, or there may be something there that they're not too happy with. And this gives you an opportunity to deal with it sooner rather than later. It can hold up the release of funds if you don't have your real property report when the deal closes.
Yeah, actually, what would happen is the lawyer would do a holdback of funds on your behalf. And if you have a condo, you'll also need condo documents such as bylaws, financials. Most owners receive updated information from the condo board. So it's just important that we'll go through the documents that you have and see what needs to be ordered. But some of these documents are time sensitive, so you don't want to order them until you've received an offer on your home, and your realtor will be able to advise you on that. And there's so many aspects to moving, you just can't possibly do this on your own. There's 3 ways of selling your home. You can sell it as is condition without doing any upgrading, or you could do your repairs and updating, and sometimes this costs a lot of money. And then there's also staging. We've been in the business for a long time, and we used to just tell people about getting their homes ready for sale, and now they use the word staging. So there's 2 different types of staging, and it's how your house how you're living right now. Your home is comfortable and the way you like it, but there's also staging your home to sell, and that's making it more appealing to a prospective buyer. And sometimes people don't even want to look at moving because they're so overwhelmed just by looking at all the stuff, that they've accumulated over the years. But not to worry, when we do meet up with people, we overlook everything. And it's just important, that's actually, we have worked with people in the past that are considered hoarders, but there's lots of help available, so you don't have to feel overwhelmed.
And actually, Debbie, if I could just add something there, going back to where you mentioned repairing the house and getting it ready to sell. There are people out there that would go through the process of having a home inspection done before the property is listed for sale, and then doing the repairs at that point in time. With the market being the way it is right now, that may not be necessary, although if there are any items that do need work, like you've got ripped screens or something like that, it's probably worthwhile to do that now as opposed to later. A home inspection generally is a condition on the sale of your home, and they're working for the buyer. They're not working for you. So they'll go through there and look for problems in the house and make the the buyer aware of that. And in a lot of cases, that gives the buyer the opportunity to renegotiate the price with you. So anything that you can repair right now on your own without going through that process of actually hiring a home inspector yourself is probably money that would be worthwhile to spend.
And actually, when you're thinking of staging your home, it's really not necessarily necessary. There are, companies that'll come and they'll take out your furniture and put in modern furniture. But really, sometimes we feel this really isn't necessary at all. All you need to do is just start packing and decluttering. And that's putting things away, removing items from your kitchen countertop and your bathroom. Nobody wants to see your toothbrush or your shampoo bottles. So when you think of it, when the last time was that you went and stayed in a hotel, just how it was when you opened the door, everything was neat and there was really nothing on counters or in the bathroom, on the countertops there as well. This is how your home needs to stay to look in order to be staged. So just think of a hotel room when it comes time to downsizing and packing up. And actually, we just had a property that we sold, and she had a couple pillows on her couch. And so what we did, we just put those on her bed, and what a difference it made. And her house ended up selling for multiple offers just because she did do a lot of packing up and her place looked great. And we do have information, tip sheets available. If you'd like copies, just feel free to connect with us and we'd be more than happy to send them to you. And downsizing, who can help? Sometimes people, just think their family and friends will be a part of this, and it's okay to ask them, but don't be disappointed if they say no. We've worked with many families where their children really don't want to be involved because everybody's so busy with their own lives. But don't be disappointed at all. There are professional companies out there to help, with the downsizing, with the moving of items. And actually they have a whole process. What they'll do is they'll help you decide what you would like to take with you to your new place, and items that you don't want any longer, they'll donate to the charity of your choice. They'll take them there for you, as well as if there's items that need to go to auction, they'll do that. And they'll also take the remaining items that just there's no home for them and they just need to go to the landfill. They'll do this all for you. So it's a real easy process. And we did work with a client a few years ago where I asked her, she had no children to help her. And I said, are you planning on doing this on your own or would you like some assistance? And she said, oh no, my friends are going to help me. So her friends helped her with a garage sale. And then on moving day, when I was with her, I met her friends and they were just totally exhausted. And they just said, I can't believe that we're helping. We're too old to be doing this. In fact, they were in their 80s. So it is really overwhelming. So if you get people that want to support and help you, we really recommend that you just say, yeah, yes, you will. But just remember that sometimes it's not appropriate, to have your friends help. And also, just so you know, the Kerby Centre Information Department is also a really good resource. They have a wall of brochures with all different organizations and companies that can help. So the next time you're at the Kerby Centre, we just recommend that you just go in and take a look and see what they've got.
Like we've been trying to say here, buying and selling a property is a fairly important decision. And it's important that you talk to people that are licensed to sell real estate in the province of Alberta. Right now, with the market being the way it is, we're seeing a lot of investors and wannabe investors in the city. And you've probably seen their notices up on telephone posts and on the boulevards in the center of the streets, saying that they'll buy your house for cash. These people are not regulated by the province of Alberta. They really don't answer to anybody. They are out there looking for a great deal for themselves. And quite often, They're not going to give you market value. They certainly won't tell you that they're not going to do that. But keep in mind that they are looking out for themselves and they're trying to get the best deal possible for themselves again. So if someone does approach you and they are going around and knocking on doors in older neighborhoods, just be careful with that. They may not be giving you what your home is worth.
And a really good resource for seniors housing in Calgary is the Housing Directory. This is put out by the Kerby Centre, and you probably have seen this book many times. You can pick it up at the free publication stands when you leave Safeway or Co-op or the library. It's also available, of course, at the Kerby Centre. And this is also online if you go to the Kerby Centre web site. But this is an excellent resource if you're thinking that you want to downsize and maybe you need a subsidized housing or affordable housing rentals. You can take a look at this book. It lists all the different properties that are available within the city of Calgary. It's divided into quadrants of the city, and it also shows the housing providers. If you are considering subsidized housing, you just need to know that there is an application process that is required. And we recommend that you connect with the staff at the housing department at the Kerby Centre, because they have all the application forms for all the housing providers, and they'll help you fill them out and tell you what you need. Because if you are going to subsidize housing, it is based on your income, as well as with the application form, they need financial information, as well as you'll need a medical. But the girls, Myra or Patty at the housing department, can definitely help you through this. And also the Housing Directory is an excellent resource if you're considering retirement residences. These are the properties where you can go and get your meals, as well as they are, we went through them earlier, and they're throughout the city and all different levels of care. And again, you know, they are in this Housing Directory. If you are needing long-term care, of course, you need to go through Alberta Health Services, but this is also in the directory of services. And should you move first and then sell, every situation is unique, but just keep in mind that vacant homes do sell. So if you are in a situation where you can afford it, you might consider moving to your next place before you put your house on the market. You might find that it's less stressful for you to be in your home. And if you do have any concerns about your home not selling, typically it might be overpricing. You just have to remember that you price your home realistically according to the condition of the home, as well as the market condition. We always say every home does sell if the price is right. You just don't want to put your life on hold. As we get older, time is of the essence. So just start having fun. And just remember, you're not doing this alone. There's lots of people to help you throughout this whole process, and you can do it. We will take, if there's any questions, we'll just ask Pauline if you want to come back on board. And also, if anybody would like to reach out to us, if you do have questions that might be a little bit personal that you don't want to share today, feel free to reach out to us and we'd be more than happy to provide information to you.
Great information. Thank you very much. And please feel free to ask any questions that you have through using the Q&A button or the chat button at the bottom of your screen. And we'll monitor that and hope to make sure that we get to everybody's questions. In the meantime, great information. Thank you very much, Peter and Debra. And one of the things that kind of struck me is that there are an awful lot of options out there. And you know, how do you know what is the right decision for you and how to move forward? So it's great that they have a resource like you and Peter to be able to help to inform them and make sure that people are making the right decision. Do you want to end your screen share there, and then if you want to stop your screen share, and then
Okay, actually, I see a couple of questions here,
Uh-huh.
Colleen.
Mhm.
Oh,
Go ahead. We can answer it with your screen share on or off, just whatever.
oh,
We've
okay.
got some questions in Q&A. And first one, there we go. First one being, then I can get my little box up there without putting a little black box on your video. Manfred has said, hi, you did mention the new name now, Real Property Report.
No, actually, they were called survey certificates, and now they're called new or real property reports.
And Anonymous wanted to know, how long is the Real Property Report good for?
Actually, this would be something we would need to take a look at what you have, and just to see, there is no date, but we just have to make sure that it's current. We just recently met a gal and she had added a storage shed. Well, typically you need to get an update, but we're just going to double check with her lawyer just to make sure that it is for sure required.
And Maureen has asked, I think relative to to moving before you've sold your home, how difficult is it to get bridge financing?
Everybody's situation is unique. And when you talk to your financial advisor, this would be a question to ask them, whether or not you are in a position, financially to buy or move to another place without selling your current home.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, everybody's situation is unique.
Donna has mentioned here in chat that she's a professional organizer, and further to that, I think as you mentioned, Debra, the downsizing, what a major job it is to downsize your home belongings and that kind of thing, to be able to move into a smaller home. So we did do a presentation a few weeks ago with a professional organizer as well, that would be up on our Kerby YouTube channel. So reach out to somebody that can help you. Debra can put you in touch, if you need help with was one of the things that we talked about was how difficult it was, like how we're attached to our things and how difficult it is to eliminate when it comes time to downsize.
That's for sure. Okay. And even Colleen, I've tried to, we're starting to downsize, and I've even asked our kids, would you like, to take this? And they say no. So I've tried the grandkids. Yeah. And they'll say yes, but then I find out they're only being polite. They really don't.
And then, as attached to you as you are to your things, and you give them to the kids, and then you go and you find that they don't have it. They don't know where it is. And it's like, oh, I know. I've told my children that I need a very big hole, because most of it's going to have to come with me, because nobody else wants it.
We worked with a couple a few years ago where the lady said there's absolutely no way she's moving without taking her dining room suite with her. and I mean, that was a real challenge to find a place where this dining room suite would fit. Mm-hmm. And then in talking to her kids, they said, well, you never have us over for dinner anyway, so why do you want to take this with you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's always the idea that someday I will have them for dinner. So Judy has said, any information on what sort of cost is associated with the Real Property Report?
Actually, for a new one, there are all sorts of different survey companies out there, but and typically you could be looking at anywhere from $500 to $1,000, just all depending on the company. And then the city, for the stamp of compliance, you're looking at just under $200.
M. Murray, where can I get a copy of my title deed? The Bowles building? How much does it cost, and do you need to go in person?
Actually, we've done that many times to help people out, but you can go to one of the registration companies, and they'll do it, or you can even order it online. If you go to the Spin2 website, and you can order it online.
Did you say Spin2?
Yeah, through the provincial government.
Okay. And if you need any support in getting some links or whatever, by all means, reach out. Debra and Peter have mentioned the resources at Kerby Centre. And so if you need any support by all means, get in touch with Debra, Peter, or Kerby Centre Information Resource. Irvin would like to know, I have a fence line issue. Can I provide title insurance to the buyer instead of a real property report?
This is something that you should connect with your lawyer and ask your lawyer about that. And they would give you the advice. That's a legal issue.
Yeah, lots of things there. That's one of the things that I did also note here too, is that I'm aware that right now the real estate market is so frenetic. You know, it's like you have to jump on a property if you want it because there's several others coming in right behind you, that it can be a time that can be really confusing for particularly older adults selling, because you know, having to jump on and making a decision, maybe they're not ready to make a decision, and you know, little fear of people being taken advantage of just because someone wants their home. So have you any advice there for people?
Actually, in this, the market changes. The way the market is today, because everything is selling so quickly, it's really important that you have a plan of action before you put your house on the market. Do not put your house on the market until you know where you're going, because you could end up being homeless. You know, when the market has changed and it's slower, like prior to COVID, you know, where our market was a lot slower, it was okay because it was taking a lot longer to sell homes. So you had time, but it's just really important that you do your research and then and know your financial situation before you put your house on the market.
I think that's important. And, you know, people can't really rely on selling their home and, oh, maybe I'll just go rent something in the meantime, because now, you know, because of the market, the rents are going up as well, you know, and trying to find accommodation.
Well, that's right.
And we've had situations before where people have done that and you know, thinking that they'll rent until they find something and then turn around and buy. And what's happened, especially in a market like this, is they end up being priced out of the market because the real estate prices are increasing. And I mean, no one knows really how much or when this market is going to change and prices will start to come back down. You could be waiting a long time, or I mean, maybe in a couple of months. We really don't know, but
well, and I've encountered that situation myself, is that, well, maybe this is a good time to sell and maybe you can maximize your return on your home now, but then you have to turn around and buy something. So, you know, much of that equity you think you're making, then you're going to have to turn around and put into an increased purchase price.
That's right.
Where if you just kind of sit tight and wait for a little bit, see how things level off.
That's why it's so important to do your research. So you know exactly what your plan of action will be.
And if you have any question on it, call Debra and Peter, and then they can help you with the information that you need to know. And two, the thing is, to, in my mind, there are so many options. You know, one thinks about selling their house and what are they, you know, going into a retirement residence, but to go into something, as you say, like a Westman Village where they have all the amenities, or the villas, you know, are an option for people that are reluctant to give up their home and their backyard. At least that gives them, you know, a little yard and basement space for their things until they can downsize.
Well, that's right. Or even people are looking at intergenerational housing, you know, where you might live with your children. You know, there's all sorts of different housing options.
Well, you touched on the tiny homes. I keep teasing my kids that they need to put a tiny home in their backyard for me. So far, I haven't seen anything.
Still coming, Colleen.
What's that?
It's still coming.
Maybe so, maybe so. Anyone else have any further questions for Peter and Debra? Lots of great information. And anytime you come down, you'll have to come down to Kerby Centre, because you'll often see Peter at our membership desk, helping to chat with Peter about Kerby resources. And
that's right. I'm there every Friday morning, so come and have a chat with me, because sometimes it's pretty lonely there.
Well, it's perking up. People are discovering that we are open and they're coming back again, you know, with the tax clinic and some of the events that we're having, that kind of thing. I'm noticing that the halls are starting to fill up again. So Carolyn has raised a hand, so I'm going to see if maybe I can let her. Carolyn, okay, you want to unmute Carolyn?
I'm sorry about that. I hit the wrong button and answered my question earlier, but on the real property report, I'll come back to that because if you've had it done, for example, in the last 2 years, but no other property problems have occurred, could you say that that might be good for the next 5 years? You've had your compliance stamped, all of that?
Oh, for
As long as there's no changes to the property, yeah, you'd be fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks.
Just hang on to that real property report because it's a very valuable document.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. Okay, and I'm unfortunately never sure how to get that screen off there, so we'll keep Carolyn's name up there while we complete our conversation. There's another Q&A. Sheila has heard that the prices with senior facilities are going to go up drastically. If you have a life lease, how does the monthly prices change? Do they change?
Actually, when you have a life lease, you would be paying a lump sum up front, and then you'd be paying month to month. So that would be something to look into. When you're paying month to month, some of them might cover the costs of living in the building. It could include your telephone or even property taxes. It all depends on how they have it written. But your actual base amount, of course, that won't change, but your month to month on a life lease possibly could. So just take a look at your lease, and you might even want to get legal advice on that as well, especially if you are going to be moving into any property that's leased or a life lease. We just recently had a client that was going to move to retirement residence, and her daughter said they wanted her to sign a 5-year lease. So they just needed to really do their homework just so they knew exactly what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah, this is an area where you need to be cautious and do your work and reread the lease and the documents that accompany that, because I mean we're all going through a process or an experience right now where the utilities are increasing quite a bit, and that's no different in a retirement residence or even in a condo that you're thinking of purchasing. Those fees would be passed along to the user or to the new buyer. And the only way they're going to do that is by increasing their fees. So I don't think there's any free ride out there when it comes to that sort of thing.
And with a life lease, a few years ago, we worked with a client that sold her home here in Calgary and was moving out to Edmonton and was going to be moving into a building that had a life lease. And, you know, she took our word and had our lawyer review things. And when you have a life lease, you put up a lump sum. And then when you are no longer going to be living in that complex, that lump sum is refunded back to you. Typically, that's a situation minus administrative costs. And when the lawyer reviewed the life lease, he said, when the time comes you have to move out of this building, you may not get your money back. It can take up to 2 years. So it's really important to get legal advice.
Good information. Anyone else have any questions? Well, this has been most informative. Thank you very much, Peter and Debra, and thank you for all that you do for Kerby Centre as well. I know that you're highly invested, and we appreciate everything that you do for us at Kerby. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to do a quick screen share here of myself, because as we spoke, there are lots of things coming up at Kerby. Come on, get over there. And come on down. We are open. As I mentioned, we have a lot going on and more being planned all the time. For those of you that may be suffering any food security issues, we do have our food markets Wednesdays and Fridays at Kerby Centre, as well as our community pantry that you can come in and take advantage of. And as Debra and Peter referred to, the information, resources, and housing is available to help you out. And for those who qualify, assistance with free tax preparation. Education and recreation, we've got lots of activities for you and our fit room. And of course, keep an eye out on Kerby News. You'll find out everything that we have going on monthly. And Kerby Cafe is open, and new menus and licensed in case you'd like to have a little glass of wine or beer with your lunch. As I mentioned, the virtual tax, you need to make an appointment. You can call that number and they'll give you all the information. We have March is Fraud Prevention Month, and we have Better Business Bureau joining us next week to talk about cybersecurity, some of the things you need to know about scammers and online fraud. So that's available to register at our Eventbrite page, or you can go to kerbycentre.com/events to get a direct link. And then April is Advanced Care Planning. And so we are working with Alberta Health Services to discuss personal directives, the goals of care that you'll encounter at the hospital, and use of green sleeve, as well as wills and estate planning. We've just added a new one as well that would be interesting with someone who is an end-of-life doula. We'll be talking about how do you start the conversation, and how do you open up a conversation? What do you need your family to know? So that'll be coming as well in April. And Debra and Peter, thank you so much for joining us here today and all this great information. I think that there's another chat. I'm just going to end my screen share. And it looks like we've got some more in chat. Oh, that's from Debra. Okay. And so also, in addition to those things that I have shown you, please mark your calendars: Mental Health Week, May 3rd, beginning May 3rd, and Senior Week, beginning June 6th. We are planning several presentations in May on various aspects of mental well-being, and in June, lots of fun activities live at Kerby Centre. So you'll be hearing about those coming up as well. So if there's no further questions, Peter and Debra, thank you so much. And
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen.
Lenore has said thank you very much for this informative session. Thank you, Lenore, for joining us, and we'll see you all.
Yeah, take care.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Okay.